Good morning. Well, today is July 24th, 2020. Let's take a look at my backyard garden to see what we have. You'll ask if that's a weed jungle or fruit orchard, an orchard, or flower garden. What it is? Well, all the above. I have a lot of flower. In fact, we can just take a look at it from outside. Before we get in the garden. So a part of it is fence and a part of it is not. And I love those flowers that are in it right now. I have multiple flowers and they all bloom at different time of the year. Like in summer and fall. And I don't know the names of all of them. They lily bloom and it's not in bloom anymore. And after they are done, I have this flower that is in the garden now in bloom, and that's the daylily here. You can see how tall the flower, the stem for the flower is, and that's the leaves. I don't know the variety that I have to know whether or not it's edible, but I think some variety of the daylily in general is edible. But once again, I don't know what variety is. So now we are in the garden, and here I have strawberries. They produce well for us this year, and I froze at least 2 or 3 gallons of strawberries from our garden. And we have herb that's winter savory. I have lettuce here that I didn't plant. So it came back from 3 years ago when I planted in 2017. In 2018, harvest a lot of seeds. I didn't plant in 2019. Some came back in 2019, and this one came back this year. I have alpine, strawberry, and I have weed, edible weed, garlic mustard, and I have lamb squatter here. And lamb squatter was a reason that I fenced my garden at the back. So I came across one plant in an area of my garden a few years ago, and I did research on it, found out that's lamb squatter. And I was hoping that it will set seed so that I can have multiple the year after that. But then I saw deer, one morning I noticed that deer ate the top of the plant, and I went and purchased a fence, and I fenced that area, and I believe it was pretty much where you have the flower is that area here. We will get to that. That's pretty much the area, this fence here. So at that time I was thinking about fencing my front yard, or maybe I have started, but then one was here and they cut the top of it, and then I fenced that bed. So yeah, and my neighbor, when I was doing it, asked me if I'm going to raise chicken, and I said no, I'm just fencing the garden for them not to get in. So yeah, buying expensive fence to fence a garden to protect weed. So that's how weird it was. It was. But the thing is, those edible weeds, they are easy to grow than their cousin, because lemon squatter is in the same family as spinach. But it's not easy for me to grow spinach when lemon squatter can grow without me doing anything, sowing, watering, or anything at all. So here we have wild thyme. I have the French thyme I had in the past, but not anymore because bunny destroy it. Now I have wild thyme, which has been doing well, even though I have bunny in the garden. I don't know how it got in, but it got in. And I have sorrel here that I use like spinach and lettuce. So even though I have that lettuce growing, I didn't eat it this year. I just make my salad with a lot of different type of greens in the garden, including sorrel. And this is I will say turnips. It's not broccoli. I won't say broccoli, but I have plenty of broccoli here. It came the next year, the following year, and it says seed. And after that, this plant came. I know it's in the family of cabbage, but because I planted turnip, rutabaga, and broccoli that year, I don't know which one came back last year, came back this year. So pretty much they set seed here, and they, some of the seed will grow back. So that's why I let it. This year I harvest the leaves, froze them, but then I let it go to seeds. And I just make sure I don't have a lot of seed in the pot at this point. I don't have it. So I just let it scatter here so that they can come back. And this is mustard. I think it's called it's kind of a giant mustard. So I planted last year. No, the year before last year. And it came back last year and it came back this year. So it says seed the same year. So that's a seed from 2 years ago that is growing. A seed from 2 years ago. This seed is from last year, but last year seed came from the year before that. So I only planted one time and it's coming back. And my goal is to have it just spread in the garden. So we are in zone 5 and it says seed, but it has not dried completely. And I moved the branch there because it was on the pathway, and I want that to spread, to scatter the seed in the bed. And I have apple tree here that I fence the base so that bunny does not get to it. I have grape, that's Concord seeded grape here, and I just cut, every year I will trim the branches from my front yard. That's where I have it. And when I trim the branch and I cut a piece and I put it here in spring and it grows. So it has been here for 2 years now, the back. That's how I spread my plant after purchasing it only one time. And the one at the front is producing right now. This one is not producing. So I'm just Oh, we have blackberry. I have not talked about blackberry yet. Blackberry is here. I'm not caring about propagating it anymore. I have done that from 2 plants. I propagate it throughout the garden because I have the fence. I use the fence as the support and just propagate. I let them touch the ground when they grow their cane, and in spring I'll cut the cane and that rooted, and I'll just plant it along the fence. So that's what I did, and I have a lot. And while we are here, we have that is a main wild blueberry. Now I don't know if I have 2 types. That's the second one here. And I don't know if I have the that's wild grape that I just cut off because it's taking over. It's not producing grape, but it's taking over, and that's wild grape. So I'm not sure if that's what this is, but I have 2 varieties here. I need to pollinate each other. So I have black currant here. That's something that I trim at the front, and I'll cut the branches and just put in the ground, and they will root. So it's here as well. And my camera is out of battery, so in my end I have the flowers that we saw from outside. I don't know the name, but it can be very beautiful. The first year that they came, they were here, they were that color, but now I have different type of color. So I don't know if there is a type of cross pollination that happened from pink to light pink, and I have white this year. So that's a flower that I like, and I'm glad that I have different colors now in the garden. Having fruit trees, I like to keep the flowers that were here before we move in so that I can attract bees to the garden. And this is Jerusalem artichokes or sunchokes. So they are just taking over this area, but having a bunny in the garden is chewing on them, on the trees, on the branches, and they are growing back. So that is a plant that you eat the roots, like potato type. Here I have radish. It flowered this year, and that's the flower stem here. And the variety that I have, I think the leaf is edible, like cooking it. But I cook it, I plant it to have spice that is hardy to my zone 5. So that's how a little by little I'm introducing perennials to my garden. Not just vegetables, but spices as well, and herbs. And that's one here, and that's one here. And I purchased them probably 2 years ago, yes. The first year I didn't harvest. Last year I harvested, and I cut the root to replant. So I have a few places in the garden. So that is hardneck garlic that is setting seeds, bubbles. And I like to harvest them and just scatter them in the garden, because the way I eat my garlic is I let the bulb in the ground stay in the ground year around, and I just eat the leaves. So I chop up the leaves and froze some for winter usage. Here is arugula. Is perennial to our zone 5, and that's silvertar, I believe, arugula. That's wild arugula. So I have it here, and I like to add it to my salad. One thing I like to do too, though, I like to dig some and replant. So I have about 3. And here I have kale that came back from 2 years ago. Like 2 years ago I planted. It came back last year from the seeds and came back this year. So I just let them go to seed, and the seed will spread on the ground, and some will grow back the next year, the following year. Here I have peach tree. Has not produced yet, and we can see that's Reliance peach. I have 2. I think the other one is Polly. That's the red. The thing is, some bunny destroyed the plant, the tree, and I let them grow back from the root. So I don't know the variety that I have now. And this is Asparagus. Doing all of those fair here, and they sell seeds as well. I have my Egyptian onion that is growing bubbles that I like to harvest some and eat without touching the bulb in the ground. They stay in the ground. That's my garlic here. And we have a lot of raspberries. A patch here is specifically dedicated for it. And that's a big patch here of raspberries. They produce a lot for us this year as well. From last year cane, and this year cane is green, is going to produce in fall. So we have a lot of them here. And I'm not going to be able to do the whole tour for the garden because I have elderberry there that I won't be able to get to since I'm out of battery for my camera. But they are growing seeds, and I'm trying to collect them. They are growing elderberry berries. And I have collected last year, froze, and I'm going to collect them this year as well. Freeze, so that I have enough to make elderberry syrup, cough syrup, to have on hand for winter. So we have a lot of strawberries here, and that's where the flower started the first year they came. And I don't know the name of the flower. If you know, will you please share it with us, please? And they are the one that does the beautiful pink flowers. I have this one here. I don't know the name either, but they are here. So this part of the garden, I have, I will say, turnip green. I didn't plant it this year. I didn't plant it last year, but I planted them the year before. So they said seed. They came back last year, said seed, and they came back this year. Last year I have one here that says seed, and this year one came back and said seed. So, no, I didn't see one. No one said seed this year, but this year I have seen this one growing, and now I noticed that I have multiple. So I have 1, 2. In fact, I have more than 2 here. It's like two plant there. Then I have this one here. I have this one. So I have multiples here, like 4 or 5. But I think one came this year and says seed, but I'm not seeing here. So it could be I'm just thinking about last year when they said seed. So they came back this year. And I thought this one came back from last year, but it's not, otherwise now they'll have 6 seeds. But yeah, so they are all new growth this year from seeds, and you can see that it has some soft needles, should I call it like that, at the back. So that's turnips. I planted 2 varieties, and here they are here. And that's pretty much trying to talk about the different things that I have in the garden without, I have multiple of one things, but I'm just trying to talk about one things one time, most of the time. But that's that. And here I have Pear Bunny destroy year 2 as well, but it's coming back from below the grass area. I planted 2 few feet apart from each other, but the other one didn't survive. It came back but didn't survive. So I do have a type of strawberry here, and this will be the pear that I have that is growing now. The one that came back but didn't survive